The gaming world is a surprising colorful one. And not only the RGB rainbow keyboards, just walk into any game store and you'll be greeted by red Nintendo games, green Xbox titles and blue PlayStation boxes, which conveniently make up an RGB pixel. But it goes further than the three main console manufacturers: the consoles themselves, gaming franchises, the games within those franchises, and even the characters within those games. We could go deep and analyze the psychology of colors, but in the end it's all about branding and getting recognized immediately. You don't need the console's logo or the box art. Heck, you don't even need the box itself to know this is a Switch game. Or a tomato. Well, you do need to know that it's a game. But the point is, a color is a part of a game's or a company's identity, and this has led to what I would call the colors of gaming. Though this trifecta hasn't always been the standard in the history of console gaming. Before the Nintendo days, visual coherence in video game branding wasn't very common. The Magnavox Odyssey, Intellivision and ColecoVision had a logo on the console, but that was about it. Atari attempted to color-code its consoles, red for the 2600 and blue for the 5200, but that didn't completely catch on. There were of course some notable trends. For example, adding a multicolored element to your logo, or a wood grain pattern on the early consoles. After all, the console was more than just a machine, it was a centerpiece. But overall nothing too crazy. Though when Nintendo hit the scene, this started to ramp up. The company logo was already its iconic red during the first generations of Nintendo. And for their early handheld marketing, blue was the way to go. I'm already sensing a common color combo. Though this color choice wasn't extremely integrated in the console and box designs. For the NES it was left as an accent color, or a small emblem and later a thin banner. Though the Famicom, the Japanese variant of the NES, went all in on the red design. The Super Nintendo laid more emphasis on the red company design, but the controller design didn't get a memo in America, featuring a purplish-blue color scheme. At least in Japan and Europe, the 4 colored buttons appeared in the console's logo. Anyways, the Game Boy Color added a multicolored part to the classic Game Boy logo, denoting that the console in fact was in color. Just to make sure. Another big player in the console market during this era was Sega. They went with a recognizable blue logo, which again didn't play a role in the design of one of their first major consoles, the Sega Master System, which of all colors they decided to go with a red design. Seriously, you couldn't have picked another one that wasn't already in use? And the box art wasn't fitting as well. Though with their next console, the Sega Genesis, they went for a more standardized look. Black console design, blue-silver logo and fitting boxes. Weirdly, later in the console's life, the Genesis boxes in America got a red banner, while its counterpart, the Mega Drive in Europe, got a blue banner. While the add-ons for the Genesis, the 32X and the CD, got similarly colored banners in Europe, but complementary colored banners in America, blue and yellow. A very confusing, colorful mess. The next console, the Sega Saturn, simply went for a blue branding, and the last console, the Dreamcast, chose an orange emblem. Today, Sega isn't in the console manufacturing business anymore, but they are still associated with the color blue, due to their logo and the company mascot, a fast blue hedgehog. While Nintendo kept at it with their red plumber as a mascot and red company logo, up to the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. But during the era of the DS and the Wii, the iconic red logo became less prominent. Nintendo started to use its grey and white variant of their logo more, and the red marketing was more designated for Mario-related products. This continued during the next generation with the Wii U and 3DS, where the marketing was centered around the console's colors. Wii U got light blue, and 3DS a red accent. Red and blue again? Come on, there are other colors besides red and blue, you know? Well, at least you change it up this time, giving the home console blue and the handheld red. But seriously, so many great colors! Anyways, the color of the Nintendo logo was in this generation still mostly grey and white. Though in the next generation they switched back to the full red marketing. You see what I did there? Switched back because the Nintendo Switch... Never mind. But it's a white logo on a red background this time around. All in on the red. It almost seems weird to think of Nintendo as anything other than red. And look at that console design. It is red and blue again. You must be kidding me. Really? So many colors, a whole spectrum. But I shouldn't linger too long on Nintendo, because they aren't the only player in the console market. PlayStation is mainly associated with blue, though they didn't settle for this from the beginning. First they dabbled in a multicolored logo on a black background, and it was only during the end of the PS3 and especially during the PS4 generation they went big on the blue marketing. I must say, combined with the X, circle, square and triangle face buttons, it makes for a recognizable brand. And of course there's Microsoft with the Xbox consoles. In 2001 they immediately jumped towards the green for their part of the gaming space. Much more straightforward than the other two, though they switched the shade of green at one point. The first two generations, the Xbox and Xbox 360, were of a light radioactive green, and the Xbox One and Series X and S had a darker, more natural shade of green, and that is what makes up the trifecta of the colors of gaming. But there's of course much more to it, if it are the iconic ghosts of Pac-Man, the player cursors in the Wii menu, or the white with black accents of the Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch OLED. Colors are an inevitable part of gaming. Though I probably shouldn't get too hung up on the overused red and blue. In the end, it's all just an RGB value. Goodbye!